On Christmas Eve 1944, 64 of America's most talented college football players took the field to settle a friendly rivalry. But they were not playing on a Saturday afternoon in South Bend. Instead, they were playing on a remote island in the South Pacific. Just a few months later, 15 of the players from that game, members of the United States Marine Corps, would be killed in one of World War II's bloodiest battles. Joining us now, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and best-selling author of Friday Night Lights, Buzz Bissinger. His new book is about those American heroes we just mentioned. It's titled The Mosquito Bowl, a game of life and death in World War II. Buzz, it's great to see you this morning. What an amazing story. I didn't know anything about it, to be honest. I think most people don't. So how did you come to this story?
Well, I think I came to it the way most writers today come to it. I was screwing around on the internet when I should have been on deadline writing something. And Willie, I honestly don't know. For some reason, I got on the subject of World War II and sports and read about this game called the Mosquito Bowl, and it became more and more improbable, more and more delicious. But it was two regiments of the Marine Corps stocked with great football players, and they would argue over beers who would be the better team if we played each other. And finally, one Marine said, "We're Marines. We don't argue. We fight it out." So they had this game as close to a real football game as you can get. They had marching bands. They had programs printed. It was broadcast on the Mosquito Radio Network. You name it, they had it. And this delicious game. But really, it was a way for these 65 men who really were still boys to be boys again, to do something they loved, which was football, to go away from the horror of combat for 3 hours. They had a blast. The score was 0-0. But the upshot was that it's still unimaginable to me, of the 65 who played, 15 were later killed at Okinawa several months later. Yeah, men who really still were boys from their 18, 19. The oldest was 25 of those who were killed.
That's the thing, Buzz. You look at the faces on those guys, and they're kids. A lot of them would have still been in college had they not gone to serve. The 4th and the 29th Marine Regiments, you had players from big-time programs like Notre Dame and Wisconsin, Brown. You had some good Ivy League programs in there as well. So the game ends in a scoreless tie. What happens from there? How much longer did they get to spend together before they all headed off to that fateful battle?
The game was on the beautiful date of Christmas Eve of 1944, which I thought was fitting. It was also a way to celebrate Christmas when you're 6,000 miles away from home. This was it. 3 months later, they had been training for months. The game was a respite from, you sit there. The longer you sit there, you think about, am I going to live or am I going to die? That's why you look for diversions. They had to get out of it. And 3 months later, they were shipped out to Okinawa, which was the bloodiest battle by far in the Pacific. People don't know. 240,000 people died in 82 days. Americans, Japanese, and civilians. It was beyond bloody. It was beyond horrifying. The book purposely recounts the horror of combat, so we know it, we remember it. And they were beautiful men. They have flaws. We all have flaws. I like to describe these men. It is the essence of America, the America we want back. Ordinary men rising to extraordinary circumstances. But it's also mothers. It's also fiancés. It's women who took over the workforce. And by the way, were a lot better than men. Worked harder, were more organized, didn't fight. And what the book also is about the beauty of America. I watched the news today about these immigrants being sent to Martha's Vineyard, the divisiveness. What would World War II have been like if we were constantly fighting with one another? The beauty of World War II, as horrible as it was because men died, was we were united. There was no blue state. There is no blue state. There is no red state in a foxhole. In a foxhole, will you protect my back? And it was a beautiful moment. And I think one of the reasons I did the book, it shows what we can be again when we have a common purpose, when we do our duty without question. And for the sake of, in the case of these men who so tragically died, I may live, I may die, but I'm here to sacrifice and protect the beauty and the ideals and the principles of our country. So as you read the book, it's wincing. to read about people you get to know and I hope you love who don't make it.
Such a beautiful, rich story. This took you 5 years of work. I have a quote from you here, Buzz. After the third or fourth year, I thought I may be dead by the time this book comes out. So thank goodness you're not. But tell me what you discovered about these guys, these young men, and also even personal. You discovered something you never knew about your own father.
I know. That was
research.
Freaky. Yeah. I mean, that was freaky as hell, and that was what put me over the top. This was never intended and is not, a search for my father book. I knew my father was a Marine. He got drafted out of Dartmouth. He could have gone to the Navy. I will never know why he didn't, because he said, I don't want to die on a ship, so I'll go to the Marines, which was a very bizarre choice. He was at Okinawa. I didn't know where or when, and as I'm doing the book, I say to myself, let's research. Let's find out. I look at muster rolls, we share the same name, and there is his name, my name, and this is freaky, in one of the regiments that I was writing about. He was on the front lines, he was in combat. He never talked about it, and I never asked him. I felt this is his private zone. He could not talk about it. But in a sense, the book, and I'm not being trite, and I get choked up because I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
I'm so totally proud of him to know what he went through, and I wish he passed away over 20 years ago, and I just wish I could hug him or thank him or shake his hand, because he and the men I'm writing about and so many hundreds of thousands and millions of soldiers and Marines all over the world went through hell and back. Okinawa was indescribable, and the primary reason I think that Truman dropped the atom bomb. The casualty rate was horrific. It was way over 50%. And he said, we are not going to lose another American boy on foreign soil.
Buzz, it's so heartwarming to hear about what you discovered about your father. And of the 64 men who were part of the Mosquito Bowl, 15 of them died in battle. And then by the time you started researching the book, you were telling me only one of the 64 was still alive. Could you talk about this man, this veteran, and did you get to interview him and meet him?
His name was Dave Mears. He was such a great guy. And, those veterans who are alive, I mean, they're in the 90s. I mean, I was ashamed of, my intellect is going day by day. These guys were sharp, but they were decent. They said, do not describe me as a hero. Do not draw attention to myself. And Dave was like that. It was a wonderful 3 hours. He remembered some of the players that I was writing about. But he was the only one who was alive. So there was a year of saying, can I really get at this? But several of the players that I write about really from the beginning of their lives to the tragic ends left. Their families had a tremendous paper trail of letters and other documents. And I found the letters so poignant because they're small. It's all in the little details. You're not talking about battle because you cannot. But
and the censorship was so extreme. Yeah,
the censorship was totally extreme, although they would use a code system to try to tell their parents where they were. It's like the first word of every sentence. But when you're spelling out Guadalcanal, that can take a lot of sentences. But, I got a paper trail, letters, and I realized I can do this. I can take the reader through, and the hope is that you will fall in love with these guys, as I did. I kept a picture of one of them next to me as I wrote, a man named Dave Schreiner, two-time All-American from Wisconsin, the perfect All-American, tremendous love for his mom and dad, engaged to be married, and totally in love with his fiancée. And they were beautiful men. I mean, there was a certain simplicity to them. America was much more innocent. It was the time of golly gee whiz, and I want to pin my sweetheart. But their duty, their willingness to go into combat, to go on a patrol knowing you are going to get decimated, is still indescribable to me. But that is the essence of what made this country great. So for all the tragedy of the book, there is also tremendous uplift. Here is what they did. Here is what we can do to be great once again, because they were great.
The new book is titled The Mosquito Bowl, a game of life and death in World War II. Buzz Bissinger, thank you very much for bringing that to us. Congratulations on the book.
Well, thank you.
And